Okay, we're recording.
Okay, hey guys. Morgan and I were talking, and we were just kind of like discussing what maybe we feel like would be helpful to you guys. And thinking back to kind of like how it was when we got started and what we wish we knew, right? And so one of the things that I think is the biggest reason that people don't go as fast as they want in this business is because they don't know what they want. And so I really encourage you guys, just for the next like 10 or 15 seconds, like write out, what do you want from this business? Like, what do you want? What do you want income wise? What do you want friendship wise? What do you want fun wise? Like, what are you looking for in this business? And I feel like, okay, just do that first before, because I'm just going to continue talking if I don't let you guys do that first. So write out what you want from this business. If it's $500 a month, write that. If it's being debt free because of this business, write that. If it's moving into your dream home, write that. And then the next thing I want you to write is, what do you think it's going to take to get there? And you guys can just write down that question if you didn't finish like answering that question, because you can finish after we're done. But here's the thing is, if you don't know what it's going to take to get what you want, it's on you to ask. Okay. Because most of us have no idea what we want. Right? Like, I know that when I came into the business, I was like, it'd be great if I could make $500, but like, I was too scared to write down what did I want, because when you write it down, if you don't get it, you feel like you fail. And that can be a very scary feeling. But the reason I encourage you to do that is because I have found when you look for what you want, you find it a lot easier. And so it's kind of like, if you go to church and you're looking to get something out of it, it might be like you're looking for it and you get it out. Like, you get that part of it out of what the pastor might have been saying. And somebody else took something totally different because that's what they were looking for from it. And so it's very important that you guys are figuring out exactly what you want from this business. And if you don't know, if you're like, right, like, my answer was blank for what is it going to take to get that? If you really don't know, this is right when you need to ask your upline. And if your upline's not there, ask your uplines. And because it's on you to figure out what you want. Nobody else can answer that for you, but other people can help you answer how you actually get that. Okay. So once you decide what you want, and the other thing, that we wanted to touch on is just controlling what you can control. Okay. I think so many people make enrollment goals, right? They make these goals like, I want to sign 6 DTs today. And that's great, but you have to have a process in place before those results are going to come. Okay. So you have to say, oh, I'm just going to wake up and sign 6 DTs a day if you haven't even started messaging until today. Like, that's not going to be necessarily the right expectation, and then it's going to lead into failure, right? And then you're going to feel worse, and it's going to be this vicious cycle. And so setting expectations for the things that you can control, because the only 2 things you can control are your attitude and your effort. That's it. Those are the only 2 things, your attitude and your effort. And what you write down should be what effort you're putting in and what attitude you're putting out. Okay, that's it. That's all you should be writing every single day, because that enrollments will come when you trust the process, right? And the process that we tell you guys is messaging, is posting, is following up, is adding to your network, is doing self-development, right? Is being a product of the product. You guys can hear these ad nauseum. And you're going to be like, okay, I've heard this. I've heard that I need to be consistent. I've heard that I need to post. I've heard that I need a message. But when you don't get the results in 2 days, everybody wants to get frustrated. But I think having that right expectation of okay, this is the process, and some of my seeds are going to sprout tomorrow, and some of my seeds are going to sprout two weeks from now. Some of them are going to sprout 2 months from now. And so as this goes, you have to realize that, what did you do today to grow your business? And that's the question that you can be asking. And somebody told me one time, I don't even remember, but they said, if your team, and if you don't have one, your future team, if they did what you did today, would they be making money? And if the answer is no, then you need to reevaluate what kind of effort you're putting in. Because I think that was like a reality check for me. It was like a gut punch. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a tough question. And so making sure that you're just doing income producing activities. Okay. And one of the hardest things I think when you start, and that's what me and Morgan were talking about, is what questions should I be asking, right? As like a newbie, you're like, what questions should I be asking? Because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know necessarily what questions to ask. And sometimes you're like, well, I didn't even know that was a thing. So how could I ask a question about it, right? And so one of the things that we said was, ask your upline to check out your page. Ask them to check out how your posting is going. Okay. See, like, okay, am I doing, like, I just did a couple of posts on my own. Like, can you go check my page and see if it sounded all right? Or am I sounding too spammy? Or am I doing this? Or am I doing that wrong? Or what should I add more of in? Right. So that's a huge question. The second question is asking them, what's working for you right now? Like, what is work? Like, if you see them signing people, and even if you don't, just say, hey, what message is working for you? What posts are working for you? What follow-up message is working for you? How are you sealing the deal? If you're struggling with one of those issues, like, go ahead and ask somebody else what's working for them. If you see, I know on our team page, we have that boom contest, right? And so if you see somebody boom, 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 go ask them, what the heck are you doing? Okay. And figure out that person's doing something that maybe you don't know about, or maybe that just one tip of how they worded their follow-up could change how many times you seal the deal. And then the other one, Morgan, did you want to touch on like the question on like how to follow up, and like what they should be like asking when it comes to that? You're muted, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah. So one thing I was saying today is I texted a lot of my newbies, and that I was asking them, what's going good? What do you feel like you're struggling with? And a lot of them said that they had heard no, or that that people were going to sign up and then they actually ended up not. And they were like a little discouraged by that, which I totally understand. As a newbie, you aren't used to that maybe, or whatever. And so it is a little bit discouraging. But the thing is that I told them, I was like, that's okay. That happens to me all the time. But the thing is that I follow up with them again and they end up ordering. Whether they, at the time, like I follow up with them and I'm like, hey, are you still interested? Whatever. And they say, yeah, I'm ready to place my order. Or if I follow up with them and say, are you still interested? And they're like, no, actually, I'm not able to because I don't have the money, whatever. They're going to order eventually. And so I think going to your leader and asking them, hey, has anyone ever told you no before? Have you ever had people that said that they were going to order and then they ended up backing out at the last minute? Doing that is going to already set yourself up for success, because you're going to realize, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, this happens to everybody, And I mean, Kelsey and I have had our fair share of people telling us no. Every single day we hear people telling us no. And if we haven't heard no yet today, then we haven't talked to enough people, because you're going to hear no, and that's part of it. But knowing that it's normal it's going to take you going to your leader and asking them to realize, like, oh, okay, like, it's not a big deal. Because at first it can feel like that. So make sure that you're going and asking them, hey, what's a good follow-up message? What message are you sending? I know a girl, Jasmine, today, she asked me, she was like, hey, shout out. She was like, I'm talking to this dude, like, what should I say back? And Jasmine's really good about that, and she's one of like the top leaders on our team. And she'll still come to me and say, what would you say back to this? And I love that, because she's like, hey, I've been using this. Like, what's the message that you're still using for this? Because mine isn't really working. And she's got amazing ones that I use. And I'm like, we're all learning from each other. And so it's important for you to reach out. If I see Jasmine doing something amazing, I'm like, tell me what you're doing. What are you saying? And same thing for her to come to me. So making sure that you're doing that if you have a question.
Yeah. And one of the things, like kind of what she touched on, like being able to ask them, like, is this normal? Like, is it normal to hear no, right? Or whatever you're struggling with. Like, is it normal that I'm adding 100 people on Instagram a day and I'm only getting like 25 followers back? Like, is this normal that whatever it is, like, make sure that if you're feeling insecure about it, or you're feeling like, God, this sucks, or I don't know if this is right or normal or whatever, that you are asking people, is this normal, right? And then understanding, like, the other question is like, how should you add people, right? And I know that like everybody on here has probably been trained to some extent. Like they went over some stuff with whoever signed them up. But like when you go over stuff on your initial training, it's like all a big blur. You're like, I'm super overwhelmed. I'm still deciding if I want to do this for real. Like, okay, like, and it just can be very overwhelming. And so some of that stuff you might not remember. Like you might not remember, and it's okay. Like, don't feel dumb if you have to ask the same question 17 times before you actually understand it. Okay. So how do you add people, right? How do you growing your network? Like, who do you message? That's a big one. Like, who do you message? And you just freaking message everybody. If you were wondering who you should message, you just should message everybody. Literally anybody that's breathing and has some legs that they're walking, like message them. And so, but really like what I've been doing is just messaging the people who are viewing my stories. And then when I get through that, like I'll go to my following, people who are following me. So that's the first two places I look. And I think Morgan, do you do the same thing?
Yeah, so obviously whenever you're first starting, you're messaging your family, your friends, all of your what we call warm market, which is just people that you know whenever you join. Like you already knew these people. Maybe they're coworkers, people from school, whatever. And then you're messaging them. Okay, what you need to realize now is that you can't build to ambassador off those people. Like you're never going to get to the top rank in the company with just the people you know now. And if I look at this whole entire screen of people that are on my team, I didn't know a single one of them before I joined this business, except Macy. She's the only person I knew. But everybody else is either somebody I met since I joined in person or through social media. And so it's really, really important to grow your network, which we talked about a little bit, following and just doing that on Instagram, adding people on Facebook, and doing that every day. You're never going to run out of people to talk to. But if you're just reaching out to family and friends and you're just kind of moving through them and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I haven't gotten 4 customers in 2 days and my family won't order. Like they may not order. My family didn't order for me. And if your family does, that's great. And I'm not saying that to make you nervous, like, oh crap, they're not even going to order for me. They may, and most people's do. Mine didn't. You can still be successful. But I had to learn really quick to start using my social media. And I did that immediately. And that was super beneficial for me because I messed up a lot whenever I first started. But that's one thing that I did right. So even if you are signing up your family, your friends, coworkers, everybody, and you can hardly even keep up, keep going ahead and follow people that you don't know yet, because you're eventually going to run out and then you will already have people lined up on social media. And you're not going to hit that awkward, like, man, I don't have anybody else that I know and I'm trying to meet new people. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing we talked about, and I have like a bunch of leaders on my team that will call and ask me this question, hence why they're leaders, is they'll just say, what can I be doing more of? Like, what do I need to do? How do I need to be doing more? What can I be doing more of? How can I improve? What do I need to get better at? Right? Like those are the people that we know are serious and they're hungry to learn. And I think when we first join any business, we have a sense of pride, right? And we want to have it all figured out right away. And we think it's just going to take one training. But have the mindset of being a lifetime learner. Okay. Put that into your affirmations each morning. Just say like, I am a lifetime learner. Because if you're a lifetime learner, you're going to be so much better than the person who thinks they know everything. Right? So just know that in this business, you have to put your pride to the side and you're not going to know everything. Like you're literally just not. And I was one of those people that I was like, oh yeah, I know that. Mm-hmm, I knew that. Yep. I knew that. Mm-hmm. And like, I didn't, and I fell on my face so many times. And I learned the hard way when you should just be able to learn the easy way. Okay. Like, don't make this business harder than it needs to be. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You have people who have done it. And so also realize that sometimes you have to get really honest with yourself. And this is one of the hardest things to do in the business, because I think that we don't really keep track of how much we're doing every day or how little we're doing, right? And so I know that, like, even looking back to my triple promotion, when Brian and I both promoted to triple, I'm like, I feel like I'm doing the same amount of work, but then I forgot like how much work I was actually doing. Okay. And then the flip goes, sometimes we think we're doing way more than what we're doing. And so if you're not where you want to be right now in the business, I encourage you for the next week to write down what you did every day. Just write it down. Just say, I added this many people. I posted this many times. I messaged this many people. And I added this many people to my network. Like, write it down. Write down exactly what you did. Because I think that you'll find, like, holding yourself accountable, that you might be doing a lot less than you actually think. And I'm that same way. I'm not saying, oh, this only happens to people who are new, or this only happens to other people. Like, trust me, I've had this happen. I'd be like, God, I'm working so hard. And it's like, I look at what I'm doing and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I didn't work that hard. But I made it feel hard. And it was because I was getting up later, or I was rushing my messages, or I wasn't responding like as quickly as I should have been. And I wasn't following up consistently. And it always comes down to not figuring out like where the issue is. Like, you have to kind of become a doctor and figure out what's the diagnosis. Like, if I'm not seeing the results, like, where am I going wrong? Because it's not your network, because you're growing your network. It's not your message that you're sending out, because you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. It's not that you're too busy, because there's people busier than you that are doing this. It's not the fact that you don't know how to talk to people, because there are so many messages that we have on both of our team pages that you can use. Like, none of that is a reason why you're not successful. It all comes down to the effort that you're putting in. That's it. That's literally it. And that has to be obviously a smart effort. Like, you can't be like, yeah, well, I spent 3 hours today working on my posting. Okay, don't do that. That's inefficient. Like, that's inefficient. Don't spend 3 hours working on your posting unless you planned your post for the next 4 weeks. But literally, like, you have to learn how to work smarter. Like, if you are struggling with what to post right now, ask your upline, hey, I have this picture and I really want to post about it, but I can't think of the wording, and this is kind of what I want to say. Okay, don't sit there for 4 hours thinking and erasing and typing again and erasing and typing again, when you can just be like, dang, yeah, she said exactly what I was trying to say in 4 seconds. Because we've been doing this for three and a half years. And so don't beat yourself up for not being perfect right away. Like, it's going to take time. And so do you want to add anything to that, Morgan? I don't know. I think I just went off on a tangent, like always.
I mean, I think that was good. Like, everything that you said, that was kind of what I was thinking too. And I think that, like, a lot of times we'll sit on our phones, or like we'll be at our desks or whatever, wherever you work. And for me, it's my desk. And I'm like, I've literally been working all day. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? And like what she said, and really, I worked for maybe 20 minutes, and the rest of it, I got distracted, like found a new playlist on Spotify, and I planned half my wedding and, like all this stuff. But I didn't really work, but I was working, and that was what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't actually do it. And so just making sure that you stay on track. And a thing, just like a practical tip for that, is the Focus Keeper app. If y'all haven't used it, that's a really good one to just stay on track, because my little ADD self always gets confused and sidetracked. So that's a good app to just set a timer on your phone, and it gives you breaks, and you can set up like rounds of like 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. But what I like to do is, like, I'll set it for 10 minutes and I'll message until it's done. And if you know you only have 10 minutes to do something, you're going to be doing it the whole time, But if you're like, well, I'm going to sit here and I have like an hour until I have to go to school, so I'm going to message for an hour. No, you're not. you're probably not even going to message for 10 whole minutes because you're going to get distracted. So use that app, and then it allows you to have your breaks where, you know, I can go and unload the dishwasher, but right now I'm messaging, and, you know, I have time to do my other things later. So use the Focus Keeper app. I love it.
Yeah, the Focus Keeper is amazing. And one of the things that I love about it is because the whole reason that whole app came out is because they did this study, and your brain can focus at a maximum level for 25 minutes at a time. Okay. After that, your focus actually starts going down. And so that's why they give you those breaks. So it's 25 minutes and a 5-minute break. Now you can set it to whatever timer you want to, like she does 10 minutes or however you want to do it. But so what happens a lot to me before, if I don't use this app, is I'll be like, oh, I'm going to start messaging. And then I look at this girl and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. Like, let me go add like 45 people to her network, right? Like, I'm just going to go look at how many, like, and then I start adding to my network when I said I was going to message, right? And so like, but it's all work, right? But then it's like that here and then blah here. And then I'll message somebody and then they'll respond and I'll just continue messaging them. So what I actually do when I'm messaging is I just get my messages out for 25 minutes and I don't respond to anything for 25 minutes. Because if I do, then I'm putting, like, let's say like Casey, I'm like messaging her back and forth, and she's like a potential for me. Okay, the 25 minutes I just spent talking to Casey. Like, I didn't spend talking to Casey and Jasmine and Laura and Hannah and Shay and Rachel and Macy and Sally. And I didn't spend messaging all those people because I just put all my pennies in one piggy bank, right? Because then you're like, oh, this girl didn't sign up. What the heck? Well, you wouldn't care as much as you have planted 25 million more seeds, right? So just focus during that time. And when I do that, I find so much better results because I'm not like getting so upset and like investing so much time in just one person because I have 400 other conversations going on. So that's one thing that I really like struggle with at first because I was like, oh, I have one person who responded to me. And I was like so pumped about that person. But like if you just wait and then get all of your messages out, you're going to feel a lot more relaxed about every other conversation that you have. There was something else I was going to say, but it left my mind. Oh, somebody asked, how often do you guys follow up? Every day, once a week? Okay, and here's the thing that I say. I follow up whenever somebody told me to. And I make them tell me when they're supposed to follow up. So like if somebody's messaging me and they're like, hey, I love the hair, skin, and nails, like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, you know, I start telling them about it, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to wait till I get paid. And I'm like, okay. Most people would be like, okay, let me know. Like, no, don't ever say that. So I just say like, okay, great. When do you get paid so I can mark you in my calendar? And then I put that in my calendar and then I follow up with them. But I actually always try to put 2 days before that as well. Before, like, let's say they want to order on Friday, I put to follow up with them on Wednesday. And I follow up with them and I just say, hey girl, I'm so excited for you to get the hair, skin, and nails. I can't wait for you to try it. That's it. And then because, especially if it's like 2 weeks until they do it, the first thing I say is, I always say, okay, I can try to hold your spot, but is there any way you can swing it today? Listen, most people can swing it. Most people have $33. They just want to make it feel a lot more comfortable. And I learned that tip from Naraya, but she said, like, she's always like, hey, can you just try to swing it today because I only have like one more spot left. But creating urgency is so important. Like, you can't underestimate the power of urgency because when people have time to think, there's going to be something in between like the day that you're talking to them and the time that they decided to sign up where their tire goes out. Their kid has extra expenses. They have an extra tax bill. They have something, and they're just going to make an excuse because they're not as excited about it as they were when they first initially talked to you. And Morgan's really good about like sealing the deal like on the same day. So I'm sure you have a lot better tips than I do, Morgan, when it comes to that.
I always say that, like, and I don't remember when I shared this, but maybe last week, but you know, somebody, if I'm telling them the information about the product and they're like, okay, cool. Like, all they've said is, I'm interested in hair, skin, and nails. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is hair, skin, and nails. Send them a before and after picture. And they're like, awesome. I'll think about it. I'm like, great. So with the 90-day challenge, like I explained the 90-day challenge, like, no, you don't get to let me know. This is my thing. You don't get to let me know. But, so I'm like, awesome. So the 90-day challenge is this. And if they're like, okay, cool, you know, like I have to wait till I get paid. I'll say, you know, when do you get paid? And then I'll put them down. And another thing I've been doing lately too is saying like what time that day works for you. Because I think a lot of times I usually follow up between like 2 and 3, but sometimes people will be like at work still. If they're a little bit older, they have like a 9 to 5, or if they're younger and in college, they may work at 5 as a waitress. You know, they're getting ready to go into work. So I'm catching them at a bad time. So a girl just told me she was supposed to order tonight, but she was like, can we do it tomorrow? Because I'm in bed and I want to see all the products that I can order. And I said, what time tomorrow works best for you? And she said, noon. I said, are you Eastern time? And she said, yes. So I'm literally getting their exact time zone so I know when they want to order, or, you know, what time is best for them, because I wouldn't have followed up with her at noon. It would have been later than that, and that wouldn't have been a good time. So that's one thing that I do. I create a sense of urgency. I don't ask if they want to do it now or if they want to wait. I say, like, because it's like if you tell your mom, like, or if your mom, like, comes over to you and she's like, okay, like, can you go clean your room, please? Like, you can either do it now or you can do it later. Or, like, do you want to clean your room now or do you want to clean your room later? Well, you're going to choose later because it's an option. But if she just says, go clean your room, you don't know that later is an option, so you're going to just go do it. And so it's the same thing. So if they don't know that's an option, then they're just going to be like, oh, we're ordering now. All right. And so you just lead straight into that conversation, and all that stuff is on our team page and the potential customer conversation in the albums.
And then somebody asked, should our Instagram be public or private?
Do you want me to answer that?
You can. I mean, I do both. Like, I switch mine back and forth.
I do mine private only, because public, people, like, okay, if somebody comes and follows you on Instagram and you go, what are you going to do? Either confirm and then go look at their page, or go look at their page then confirm, right? If their page is public and you're like, okay, like, this girl's totally normal, I don't know who she is, but, like, she's cute, you know, whatever, she doesn't seem like weird, she can follow me. Would you follow her back? Maybe, maybe not. 50-50. Because you don't need to. Why would you have to? You can go look at her page anytime. See all of her posts. You can comment on everything. There's no sense of, like, mystery. You know exactly who she is, and you can go to her page, so why would you follow her? You probably won't even think about it because you already saw it. But if somebody goes and follows you and their profile's private, you're going to accept it, but then you're going to request them back. And that's what they do with me, because they're like, who is this? And I get a ton of requests back because they don't know who I am. And there is that sense of mystery because all they can see is my bio, which doesn't have anything about It Works in it.
Trying to fix Bubba's phone.
So, let's make sure everybody's muted. So, 1 second. Okay. So, yeah. Hang on. Okay. So, I do mine on private for that reason, and I get way more followers that way. Whenever mine's on public, I don't really get any followers, or if I do, they're all just like fake spam profiles. So, and I'm able to kind of whatever. I like private.
Yeah. And I go back and forth. So, like, some reasons that I would go public is like, so anyways, I just posted this hilarious video of my son, like, falling asleep as he was eating his meal.
Yeah,
And
so funny.
And sometimes, like, those will end up on the explore page. And so, like, I wanted to give it, like, an option to, like, for more people to find my profile. Or, you know, like, I follow a lot of people with, like, mixed kids and all this stuff. And so I want them to see that, like, I also, like, have that in common with them. And a lot of people, if they relate to you on that, like, on a certain level, they're going to want to follow your page because maybe you have, like, certain things. So I go back and forth, and it's not that I, like, really prefer one. I actually just, like, kind of like to experiment, and I encourage you guys to do the same thing. Experiment which one works best for you. I mean, when I was growing, like initially growing my following, especially when I was learning how to post because my posts sucked, I would keep it on private. Because, you know, if somebody comes to your page and they see, like, it works, they're never going to, like, follow you back. But once you started to have gotten, like, more experienced, in posting and have, like, it kind of down, then you can kind of experiment with like the public thing and see how that works for you. Cause a lot of, I know that like at least 2 or 3 people that found me on Instagram came from the explore page. And I never like would have followed those people, and they never would have found me if it wasn't for that. And so, you know, you kind of just have to think about the different things that each one has, because everybody has different opinions on each of them, and there's no right or wrong. But that's kind of the reason that I do both, and that's like my mindset with both of them. Does anybody have any other people have questions? The other thing I was also going to add about Instagram before we hop off is, okay, there is going to be a different, most of the time there's going to be a different audience that scrolls through posts and a different audience that just watches stories. I have asked like a lot of my friends that aren't in the business, I've been like, do you like, nobody really says they do both. Some people scroll and some people watch the stories. Like they literally only pick one or the other. And so post the same thing in your story that was on your post. Like make sure that you're doing kind of both, because I feel like there's different audiences for both of those too. Because a lot of the people that like my post aren't watching my story, and vice versa. A lot of people who are watching my story don't like my post. And so make sure that you can kind of do it like you do it both ways to kind of maximize how many people you're getting to view your stuff. Morgan, did you want to add any last tips?
I think the biggest thing is just to be like teachable and coachable, and especially as a newbie, and then as a leader too, being coachable and teachable, but then also making sure that your distributors have you there, you know, like they join you. And I take that very seriously. Like they trusted me of everybody else in this company to lead them. And I take that, you know, as a big responsibility. And I want to make sure that if they don't succeed, it's not because I didn't give them every single tool that they needed or wanted. And so I just think of that, you know, on both ends, being teachable and coachable, asking those questions like we mentioned before, as a newbie, and then as a leader, making sure that they had those answered almost even before they had the chance to ask it, and just being available for them. And that doesn't mean being on your phone 24/7 answering their questions immediately, but it means that they know that they can come to you anytime they do have a question, and that you can FaceTime them and answer a lot at one time, or you can get them on a Zoom or whatever it is. So just making sure that you play that role. And if you are a newbie with a distributor, making sure you're doing both of those and getting just plugged in and connected with some other leaders so that there's multiple people that you can go to. You don't feel like you only have this one person to go to.
Love it.
Yay, this is so good.
I know. We went a little bit longer, but I loved it. It was good.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for hopping on here. Y'all are awesome. And we did record this, so I'll post that on my team page, and then Kelsey's in our team page, so you can grab it then if you want to, or I can send it. But I'm excited. This is going to be an awesome week, and I hope that y'all do have a great week. And if y'all have any questions, let your leader know, let your upline know, let me know, let Kelsey know, whatever. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say. So I hope y'all have a good night. Bye, guys.
Bye.